A few years ago, all the big brain folks were talking about how AI was going to be replacing a lot of jobs by the end of 2025. Well, I'm talking to you, and it's the beginning of 2026, and most jobs are still safe. And then you have the post from Matt Schumer from a couple of weeks ago, where he's saying that he was an AI entrepreneur, and he says what he sees of what AI can do now and what it might be capable of soon should be raising alarm bells that once again, a lot of these jobs are going to be taken by AI. Now, I think it's silly to not say that some jobs won't be automated at some point, but I have a hard time believing these timelines, and here is why. I don't think that people like Schumer and people like the heads of OpenAI and Anthropic or any of the other big brain guys that any of us listen to are lying to us necessarily. I don't think that's it. I think it's more a combination. One, they are overestimating what AI can do. I think the bigger issue, and this is something that I'm not hearing a lot of people talk about, is that they're underestimating how complex human work is and how impressive our brains are. So I was in IT quality assurance for almost 20 years. Basically, I was on software development teams, but my role was to simply make sure that the thing that we promised the client we would build is the thing that we built. I would run it through its paces, come up with all kinds of scenarios and test cases to make sure that the software would perform the way it was expected to. So I often had to think in terms of how the client would be using the software. Developers tend to look just at what the tools can do. There were countless times where I was in meetings with the designers and the devs and the project managers, and we're all talking about, okay, this is what the software should be doing. What can we actually make it do? The developers, more often than not, would underestimate how long it would take and also how effective their solutions with the tool would be toward giving the client what they wanted. And similar to what I was saying earlier, I don't think they were necessarily lying. I think they were doing a combination of overestimating what the software was capable of and underestimating the complexity of the human workflows and the ways that the clients would use the software. I'll give you another example. So I said I had nearly a 20-year career in IT QA. When I started in 2006, I was told I needed to start learning automation tools because the types of testing I initially started doing was manual testing, meaning as a human, I was using the software, not doing any sort of automated routines, but clicking on things, following workflows. I was told in 2006 I needed to learn automation tools because my job was going to be replaced. I had an almost 20-year career in manual quality assurance. It's still a profession people can do. There are still things that automation cannot touch. Now, I do think that the tools that will probably be coming that are built on AI will be able to penetrate that space a little bit more. But humans create very complex workflows. So I worked mostly in the government contracting space. And if you guys know anything about how government agencies work, there are lots of complexities. In order to apply for this license, you need to fill out these forms and send them to these agencies to be approved. And once you get approved from the one section, you need the subsection of the party to the first part, to the party of the second part, then blah, 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 blah. Not only that, these workflows change all the time. And so software as it's currently constituted often has trouble keeping up with all of the changes. And this is the world we live in now. This is why we need humans who can keep up with all of these policy changes and workflow changes. So you take an AI and then you say it can do these low level tasks that just involve such and such and so and so. Not only will they need to stay updated, they will need to be constantly vigilant on keeping up with the latest procedures and workflow changes and what have you. And what I've seen right now with the testing that I've been doing is that cognitive load, being able to keep rule sets in their heads, AI is not good at this at all. So let me tell you a story about my first interaction with AI. I decided to build a role playing game with it because I had heard that it was really good at that. So I sat down with, I think it was ChatGPT, messed around with it, and was like, hey, I want to create this type of pen and paper role playing game. I want you to be the GM. I want to know what kind of tables I need to create for it. And then I want you to run it, and I want to be single player, and run me through this and put these random elements in and what have you. And so me and GPT spent like 3 or 4 days creating all the tables and all the rule sets, all the character classes, everything we would need to do this. And then when it came time to run it, it could run it for one session for about 5 minutes. Then it starts going, oh, well, this character has this weapon and such. I'm like, no, that character, first of all, his name isn't that, it's this. It doesn't have that staff, it has this staff, and we were over here in this land, not over here. And it was like, oh, I need more tables. So then I spent another 2 or 3 days creating more tables, and then I threw those tables in. I said, all right, here are all the tables you said you needed to run this game, let's go. And then it was still having the issues, and I was like, okay, so you can't do this now, can you? And it said, no, I can't. It said the cognitive load was too heavy. It said, but what I can do is I can create the rule set that you could give to a human, and a human could totally run this. I was like, oh, a human could, huh? So here's my last point. We are underestimating what our brains can do. I talked to someone recently who was talking about, in a race, we still win. In a cognitive race, we still win against AI. And here's why. The biggest reason is pattern recognition. You could have 100 problems that need to be analyzed and solved in order to get to a certain answer. Now, the AI would start problem solving each one of them. Problem 1, problem 2, problem 3, all the way through 100. And it could do that faster than we could. What we can do, though, is we could look at 1 through 100 and go, hang on, actually 97 of these are out of scope to the question that's actually being asked. I actually only need to solve these 3 problems. And we can do that just by looking at it and just quickly assessing and pattern recognizing. And so we can do our 3 faster than it can do its 100. It's very tortoise in the hair-ish. I understand that, but that is where we are. I want to leave you with this. We are way smarter than we are giving ourselves credit for. And we have created incredibly intricate systems that we have to marshal over. Now, what I do think will be happening soon is, and I equate it to the grocery store. You know how back in the 90s, you would have the amount of cashiers for the amount of lanes you had open. And of course, in the last few years, we now have, most stores have the one lane that's managed by one person that has 4 checkout lines. And the idea is that people are checking themselves out, and that one person is there to monitor any issues that might come up or what have you. That's where I see the job market going as far as humans in the workplace. So rather than us having one person per line, we'll have one person that marshals over 4 lines of bots who are taking care of things, but who are then audited by the person, and who are then, that person will then update the rules and procedures for those bots constantly and making sure that it's getting all the updates and that it's executing all the updates. That's what I see the future of work as. But to Matt Schumer's point, I do think that we should, all of us, be learning these tools, should be using these tools every day. Hop on Gemini. I've been using it for 6 months. I have yet to run into a paywall. That's the one I recommend to people the most. It's not quite as sharp, I think, as maybe GPT or certainly not Claude. But as far as getting a sense of what these LLMs can do, Gemini is great. And then if you need more of a jack of all trades, OpenAI's product, ChatGPT, is fantastic. And then Claude, if you want to do the deep thinking, Claude is your guy. So definitely mess around with the tools. Start doing that now, every day. It's a good rule of thumb. But as far as all of this panic going on with the sky is falling, all the jobs are going away, they people who love tech have been saying this since the dawn of tech. They are always overestimating. It's not malicious. It's just, I really think they underestimate what humans are capable of. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this new style of content I'm trying, where it's more extemporaneous, me just talking to the camera, would really appreciate that feedback. If you would, please like and subscribe. Helps me grow this tiny channel into a channel that's maybe a little less tiny. But as always, appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we will talk soon.